So in this part, we'll be starting with the Model Code of Conduct, that is MCC, the Model Code of Conduct. So the code is followed to ensure free and fair elections, listing the do's and don'ts for leaders, political parties and candidates that must be adhered to. So adhered in the sense they have to stick to the rules which are in the Model Code of Conduct. So even though it might sound funny, you can just remember, like if you've gone through the film Salar, there if the elections are happening, there are certain rules, and then if anyone is indulging the rules or they're not following, then there is ceasefire and all these things. So in the same way, even the Model Code of Conduct, there will be certain rules and regulations with the candidates, the political parties and the leaders have to follow, and they are the few elements of the code which we'll be reading in this chapter. So there are rules that the party in the government must follow. So first, starting with the rules that the party which is in the government must follow. So this ensures that the resources available to the government are not used for the purpose of the elections. So the first very important rule is the government resources, that is the public money. Government resources should not be used for election purposes, for their campaigns and all these things. The government's money should not be used. So for example, no new schemes and projects are to be announced that may influence the voters. So for example, the elections are already announced and the date is coming too close. Then the government will release some new schemes or give money to the people in the name of some new scheme, then that affects or influences the voters, which indirectly affect the opposition or the people who are contesting in the elections. It is unfair because they're in the government and they are giving money to the people in the name of new scheme. So this is not allowed in the Model Code of Conduct. This is against the Model Code of Conduct. So the ruling party should not use the resources available to the government are not used for the purpose of the elections. And all the candidates are expected to exercise the discretion and restraint to ensure that the elections will take place peacefully. So they have to, all the governments, all the candidates must make sure that the elections will happen peacefully. So they should not indulge in any violent actions that actions which will actually take away the peace in the election. So they should follow the path which is peaceful for the people as well as for the elections to be conducted smoothly. So the candidates have to ensure that the elections are conducted peacefully. So they have to not intentionally create any violence, or they have to not disrupt the peace. So influencing voters through gifts in return for the votes is punishable. So they should not influence the voters through gifts. They have to either say how they are going to rule, what are their schemes, what are they promising to the people, but they have to not give gifts in return for the votes for people. So like money or any other things in such means they shouldn't be given to the people. It will influence the voters, and this is a negative influence on people. People have to vote by seeing how you're going to rule or how is the nation going to go under your rule. It should not be that you're giving some gifts for them to vote in return. So these are some of the rules in the Model Code of Conduct, the basic rules. So now, understanding elections in India, a very brief overview. So now we'll understand the elections in India. First, election to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. So elections in India are often referred to as the festival of democracy because it is that huge, and a time when citizens exercise their right to choose the representatives freely, fairly and responsibly. It is important to remember we have to do it responsibly. And we know that India follows a parliamentary system of government where citizens participate in various levels of elections. That is the Lok Sabha in the national level, the state legislative assemblies in the state level, and the local bodies, that is the cities and the village levels, Panchayati Raj and all these things. And the country is divided into 543 constituencies for the Lok Sabha elections, and the elected candidates to the Lok Sabha are known as the members of the parliament, whereas candidates elected to the state legislatives are known as the members of the legislative assemblies, which are the MLAs. So basically, the elections or the citizens participate in various levels. That is, the national level is the Lok Sabha, and the state level is the state legislative, and the local levels, local bodies, that is the city and the village levels. And we have 543 constituencies, and the people, the candidates who are elected to the Lok Sabha, these people are called the members of parliament, which is the MPs. And the state legislatives, the people who are elected for the state legislature, that is assembly, they are called the MLAs, members of legislative assembly. So it is important to remember that each MLA will be given certain constituency, and a group of constituencies will be given under the MP. So some MLAs together under their constituency, a MP will be elected. So MP covers a larger area in comparison to an MLA. India uses the first past the post electoral system, wherein the candidate receiving the most votes in a constituency wins. So person who receives most votes, it is not that a person who wants to win in the election should receive more than 50% of votes. It is not like that. The person who gets most votes in total will be the one who is winning. So this means that a candidate can win without securing even 50% of the total votes. Like Gurumat won despite getting only 12 out of 33 votes. So after the voting process is completed, the process of the government formation will begin, and the political party or the coalition winning a majority of the seats in the Lok Sabha will form the national government. So the MPs who are elected, who will be elected for the Lok Sabha, so the party or the group of parties who have the maximum number or the highest number of MPs in their coalition or in their party will form the national government. That is the central government. And the leader of the majority typically becomes the prime minister. So whoever all these MPs will elect, obviously the leader of the party or the person whom the coalition parties, all the parties will accept as a leader, will become the prime minister. Similarly, at the state level, the leader of the majority party will become the chief minister. So we have seen the central level will become the prime minister, and the same will happen the majority party or the people who have formed the coalition. The leader of the majority party will become the chief minister. So as we saw, the State Election Commission is a part of the election apparatus. So the State Election Commission is also a part of the election apparatus, and it plays an important role not only in general and state elections but also in conducting elections in the local body at the grassroots levels. So it works in consultation with the Election Commission of India in these matters, and the Universal Adult Franchise, and also other constitutional provisions applicable in the case of direct elections by the people are pertinent here too. So pertinent in the sense it is applicable here too. So whatever rules are there in the national level for the elections, it is applicable even for the grassroots level. And it happens under the consultation of the ECI. The State Election Commission will conduct the elections in the grassroots local body elections, but this will also happen in the consultation of the central body, the Election Commission of India. Election to the Rajya Sabha. So until now we have seen the elections of Lok Sabha and the state legislatives. Now we'll study about the election to the Rajya Sabha. So the candidates elected to the Rajya Sabha are also known as the MPs, that is the members of parliament. So the Lok Sabha members are also called the MPs and the Rajya Sabha members are also called the MPs, but there is a difference in the way they are elected. But they are chosen through indirect elections. So the Rajya Sabha members are chosen by the indirect elections. So what is it? So if you see that there'll be certain houses in your school as well, and each group students will nominate or will elect a group leader. So this is the direct election. So the students itself will elect their leader for their group, and when in return these leaders will elect the head boy and head girl or the school pupil leader or all those things, if a head boy or head girl is elected by these group leaders, then the elected head boy or head girl will be said to be nominated by indirect elections, because these group leaders were elected directly by the students, that is direct elections, while these head boy and head girl are elected by the indirect elections, that is through the nominated or the already elected people. So this comes under the indirect way. The same happens in the Rajya Sabha as well. So there are total 245 members of the Rajya Sabha, out of which 233 are elected by the elected members of the state legislative assemblies. So there are a total of 245 members in the Rajya Sabha, out of which 233 will be elected by the state MLAs, state legislative assemblies MLAs, and 12 will be nominated by the president. So each state is allotted a different number of Rajya Sabha seats based on their population. So based on the state's population, each state will be allotted certain number of Rajya Sabha seats which they can nominate with their MLAs. For example, more populous state like Uttar Pradesh have more number of seats than the less populous state like Arunachal Pradesh. So the number of Rajya Sabha seats will depend on the population of the states. It's not the area or anything like that. It depends on the population. So if population is more number of Rajya Sabha seats will be allotted. So the Rajya Sabha is also called the permanent house. It is never dissolved. So it is important to remember that Rajya Sabha is called the permanent house. So its term will be fixed and the people remain. So it is permanent house. It will never be dissolved. And a member of the Rajya Sabha has a 6-year term. So it is important to remember that the member of the Rajya Sabha, that is a member of the parliament, will have 6-year term, and 1/3 of its members retire every 2 years and new members are elected. So every 2 years, 1/3 of the members will be replaced and the new members will be elected. So that is how the framework of Rajya Sabha works. So there is a difference, however, in the voting process. So it uses what is called the single transferable vote system. So this is a special way of ensuring that the smaller states also get fair representation in the Rajya Sabha. So you will learn about the exact mechanism of how this works in the higher classes. So in the Rajya Sabha, they use the voting process, that is single transferable vote system. So for now, just remember that it is a special process where it is called the single transferable vote system, and a special way of ensuring that smaller states will also get their representation. So we have seen that it's based on the population, the number of Rajya Sabha seats will be allotted. So this single transferable vote system ensures that even the smaller states would get a fair representation in the Rajya Sabha. So we'll study about it in the future, higher grades. So Rajya Sabha, MLAs, and vote in indirect elections. President of India will nominate 12 members and the MLAs will elect 233 Rajya Sabha members. Seat allocation is based on state populations. Most populous state will get more number of Rajya Sabha seats. And Rajya Sabha is a permanent body, and 1/3 of its members will retire every 2 years, ensuring continuity. And the MLA votes using a single transferable vote system, ranking candidates by the preference. So they'll rank candidates based on the preference they give. Now, moving on, the election of the President of India. So the President of India is not directly elected by the common people. So we don't elect directly the President of India. Instead, an electoral college is formed in order to carry out the elections. So this college consists of the members of parliament from both the houses of the parliament, that is both the Lok Sabha, which is the lower house, and Rajya Sabha, which is the upper house, and the members of legislative assemblies, that is MPLAs from each Indian state and the union territories of Delhi and Pondicherry. So we will see that to nominate the president, it is not direct elections, it is indirectly done with the help of electoral college. And what is it consisting of? So it consists of both MLAs of Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and also the MLAs from both the states and union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. So here also the single transferable vote system is followed in this election. Since the president represents the whole country, this method ensures the support of both the central and the state governments, and the rules for voting and counting are very elaborate. So the more populous states have greater say. We need not go into the details at this stage. So the single transferable vote system is followed in this election, same as in the elections of Rajya Sabha. And since the president represents the whole country, this method ensures the support of both central and state governments, because everyone is participating in this election. And the following group of people are not allowed in electing the President of India. So who are these people who are not allowed to participate in the elections? That is the nominated members of Rajya Sabha, the 12 members which are nominated by President, and the nominated members of the State Legislative Assembly, and the members of legislative councils, that is the members of Legislative Council, MLCs. Some states even follow the bicameral legislatures until now, and some states don't have. But even though the MLCs are there, they can't participate in the making of the president, both elected and nominated. And the nominated members of the union territories, that is Delhi and Puducherry, they can also not participate in the elections. So these are the people who shouldn't participate in the elections of the president. And it is because this ensures that only directly elected representatives vote to elect the president. So people who are directly elected will only be able to vote for the president. And this maintains democratic legitimacy. And as the president is meant to represent the will of the people, indirect but meaningfully. So we have elected representatives, and representatives on behalf of us will be electing the president. So it is like we are electing itself. So this is more meaningful, not the nominated members electing the president. And next, we'll move into the election of the Vice President of India. So the Vice President of India is elected by an electoral college consisting of the elected and the nominated members of both houses of parliament. Again, system of single transferable vote is used. We can see that the Vice President is elected both by the elected as well as nominated members of both houses of parliament. Both the houses of parliament in the sense Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Both nominated and elected members will vote for the Vice President. But here in the President, we have seen that there is a college, that the MPs from the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the MLAs and the nominated members will not be taking part. But in the election of Vice President, the nominated and elected both houses will be taking part, and again the same system, that is single transferable vote, is used. And the Vice President is the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. If there are situations when the President is not able to discharge their function, the Vice President will step to play the role. So he is the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. So Vice President acts as the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, and there are situations when the President is not able to take charge or anything like that, the Vice President steps in to play the role. So now, seeing the challenges and the road ahead. So India's electoral system is celebrated as the world's largest democratic exercise. So we are such huge in number as voters as well as in the area. So it is the world's largest democratic exercise. However, like all systems, it faces its share of challenges. Issues such as growing influence of money in elections, a significant proportion of candidates with criminal records, and voter apathy, particularly in the urban areas. So, voters count as people are not participating. And they raise important questions about the health and future of our democracy. So, even though it is the largest democracy, there are certain issues with it, like the candidates with criminal records are there, and there is influence of money and in the elections, and lack of interest to the people to vote, and all these things will raise questions about the future of this democracy. And the way forward lies in the empowering voters with the information they need to make thoughtful and responsible choices. Media, education, and awareness campaigns must work together to help people, especially the youth, because they are the ones and for the future, and understand the importance of voting wisely. And an aware and vigilant voter is a strong safeguard of the democratic system. So, if you are not aware and not vigilant about the representatives you are choosing, then the democracy is not in the right path. So, we have to be careful when we are choosing our leaders. It starts with voting the right questions and asking the right questions, and ends with casting a responsible vote. So, with this, we've completed the chapter. So, we've read that about the universal adult franchise. It's a cornerstone of Indian democracy, that every person who has completed 18 or reached 18 is able to vote, and the right to vote is responsibility too. It needs to be taken seriously by every voter, because this depends, or this will give rise to our future. And the voter awareness is an important aspect of the right to vote. It is important to facilitate the participation of all the eligible voters, and the Election Commission of India is the constitutional body that conducts elections in the country. And the Election Commission of India oversees all elections in the country, including that of President and the Vice President as well. And Indian democracy faces challenges that call for voters' vigilance and awareness. So, these are all the parts which we have studied in this chapter. So, once again, give a quick NCERT reading for better understanding and solve these questions.